Evidence mounts. January 6th Capitol breach was pre-planned. A number of criminal complaints and affidavits filed by the FBI against accused participants in the Capitol breach show evidence that the January 6th Capitol breach had been pre-planned, undercutting the allegation leveled against President Trump that he is guilty of incitement to insurrection. Critics argued that if the participants in the Capitol breach had earlier planned to break into the building, they could not have been incited by the president. What the president said in his speech on January 6th was to call on supporters to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard during the joint session of Congress. A review of some of the affidavits in Capitol incursion cases shows evidence of pre-planning. For example, Thomas Caldwell, who holds a leadership position in the Oath Keepers group, had planned with others to forcibly storm the U.S. Capitol, and they communicated with one another in advance of the incursion and planned their attack. Alex Harkrider, who faces charges of conspiracy and unlawful entry with a dangerous weapon, was alleged in an affidavit to have made statements about planning a civil war. Meanwhile, the FBI has said it notified other law enforcement agencies, including the U.S. Capitol Police, the day before the Capitol incursion about an online message that referred to a war and storming the building. It was also reported that an FBI bulletin described that people had been sharing maps of the Capitol's tunnels and discussed rallying points to meet up to travel to Washington. In a February 1st interview on Fox News, Senator Lindsey Graham said that parts of the Capitol incident had been coordinated well before Trump's January 6th speech. There's mounting evidence that the people who came to Washington pre-planned the attack before the president ever spoke. In reference to calls for witnesses to testify at Trump's impeachment trial, Graham added, "If you open up that can of worms, we'll want the FBI to come in and tell us about how people pre-planned this attack and what happened with the security footprint of the Capitol. You open up Pandora's box if you call one witness." In his tweet last month, Donald Trump Jr. argued, if these federal law enforcement agencies had prior knowledge that this was a planned attack, then the POTUS didn't incite anything.
Historian. Impeachment similar to CCP's public shaming. The impeachment effort against President Donald Trump is nothing more than performance art, similar to public shaming methods used by the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, during the country's Cultural Revolution. This is according to historian Victor Davis Hanson, senior fellow at the Stanford University-based think tank Hoover Institution. On January 13, 2021, House Democrats, joined by 10 Republicans, voted to approve a single article of impeachment against President Trump for incitement of insurrection, without hearing witnesses, without presenting evidence, without allowing for committee deliberation, and without affording due process to the president. On February 9th, the Senate Democrats, joined by 6 Republicans, to authorize the impeachment trial of the former President Trump, becomes the first former president to stand trial.
So that tells you that this is performance art. It's not a serious attempt to either remove Donald Trump during his tenure or to ban him from office in his retirement.
The historian said in the interview of American thought leaders,
it's like a public shaming, like the Communist Party used to make people wear dunce caps. That's what it's intended for.
He explained, referring to the public humiliation method forced upon victims of China's Cultural Revolution of 1966 to 1976.
But if there is a message throughout history, it is don't destroy the institutions that protect one in times of crisis when you have power, because not because you're a good person, but because you'll be on the other end. And Thucydides says that in connection with a very famous revolutionary incident at the island of Corfu. What I'm getting at is there will be a day when the Republicans or conservatives will take back power. And there will be a day when the Democrats, if they get rid of the filibuster, they will regret it. And if they pack the court, they will regret it. And if they get rid of the Electoral College, they will regret it. And if they deny the ability of a party to pick their own committee assignments in the House, they will regret it. They will regret the promiscuous use of a special prosecutor. They will regret serial impeachment. They will regret impeaching people who are no longer in office. All of those institutions they have destroyed.
On February the 9th, the first day of the impeachment trial, President Donald Trump's lawyers made their opening argument that it is against the Constitution for the Senate to hold a trial to convict a former president, asserting that House Democrats impeached Trump because they are fearful of facing him as a political opponent in 2024.
We are really here because the majority in the House of Representatives does not want to face Donald Trump as a political rival in the future. That's the real reason we're here.
The president's lawyer, Bruce Castor, said,
"But the political pendulum will shift one day. This chamber and the chamber across the way will change one day. And partisan impeachments will become commonplace."
The Senate trial appears to be doomed to fail. Only 6 GOP senators joined Democrats in voting in favor of the trial. The Senate requires at least 17 votes from the GOP to convict a president,